Hey, it's Sally Steele, and we are here with the legendary, iconic Mike Tramp from White Lion. How you doing today?
Thank you very much. I'm doing great. Nice to be in Vegas.
I know, it's been a while since you've been here. Now, last time you played at VAM, now you're at Backstage Bar and Billiards. Why so long that you haven't been to Vegas?
Well, I mean, it's always easy to blame it on the band or the artist and things like that. I mean, whenever we set up a tour, I ask the booking agency to book a tour. We're getting a bunch of dates thrown back at us, and that's the tour. And if we say, why we're not playing there, they don't really have an answer. So, we're here now, and it's in reality, it's just another town, another stage. We go where somebody wants us.
Now, you live in Denmark, right? Do you still live in Denmark?
I'm back home where I was born and raised. I came to America in '82 and left in 2000, moved to Australia, and sort of been around the world. But in between touring, somehow it's nice for me, at least, to be a place where things are sort of familiar and also away from the world that I work in. I have my studio, I have a farm, and that's kind of the way I like to be off the road. And then when we go on the road, I mean, you sort of are recharged for that kind of life because, I mean, 365, it's impossible to be on the road and hotel rooms and not always great food and going late on stage. I mean, we're not 18 anymore.
Yeah, it's nice and calm over there. You got all this traffic, I just found that out trying to get to you here in Vegas. But now I want to start a little bit from the beginning of your life. Now, I understand that you were like a teen idol. What happened there? How old were you?
Yeah, what happened? Why am I here now? Well, I mean, the thing is, when you get into something that early, as I did, 15 and a half, got into a professional band that was 10 years older than me, in a time when you had David Cassidy, you had the Bay City Rollers, you had Slade and Sweet, you had the young David Bowie, still, and that 70s English movement, that just seemed to be what was going on at that time. And I, of course, came out of school. I didn't even finish school and got into this whole thing. And for the next couple of years, in reality, just sort of followed along and had no idea of what I really had gotten into. And as time went by, I took it very serious and knew that was going to be the path that I would follow till day's ends. And now I'm getting close to celebrating 50 years in this sort of business.
So let me get this straight. You've had women throwing themselves and girls throwing themselves at you since you were 15 till now.
Yeah, basically. And look at me. Look at what I've done.
It's amazing. Now, did you always want to be a musician or famous?
No, I had no plan and no goal of following that road. I grew up in a house of music, meaning that my mom, when my dad was asked to leave, threw the alarm clock out the window and replaced it with the turntable. So my brothers and I woke up to Elvis or Roy Orbison or Sammy Davis or big band or Bob Dylan, late 60s sort of music. And so it just was something that became a big part of life. And my mom had gotten us an acoustic guitar that stood in the corner, and each of us could pick it up and sing a couple of Dylan songs and just have it as sort of as a companion, without making it a catalyst for where I was going to go. But, one thing took over, and bit by bit, the joy of singing and being part of it almost all day took over.
Did you want to be famous, or you just want to be a successful musician?
No, I mean I've never enjoyed the famous thing. I mean, there's two ways of you can be famous. I would imagine. I mean, are you the one who sings that song, and then there's those who are famous from their picture. When I came to America in '82, it was the birth of MTV. It was the birth of one of the greatest decades of rock and roll. It was a financial sort of like buffet. There was so much money involved. All bands and concerts were doing very well, so the record companies were spending even more money, and it was very visual. The rock magazines, were full of pictures and very few stories. So in that way, we of course became known for that look. The '80s were the hair, the very colorful clothes, and so on. So that's what you got known from. 35 years later, when I go on stage, the songs are what people recognize.
Yeah.
And that's a nice way to be famous in.
Now, when you first started rehearsing with White Lion, did you think you were going to make it? Was it magic there? Like, hey, we're going to be big stars someday. What do you think?
Well, I mean, the thing about coming from Europe and then arriving in New York, I mean, everything was just on fire. And as I started White Lion with Vito Bratta, and we started writing the songs, I don't think we ever really talked about if we were going to make it. It was really maybe more a matter of when. So a lot of things felt natural. Of course, early on, we also experienced what it was like to be turned down constantly by one record company after another, and what it was like to crawl back into the rehearsal room and rewrite the song and rehearse more and more to get better and better. It was just a fact, and I'm sure it was the same story for every other band around. It was just, there were so many, and maybe in reality there were only so many also record contracts. So,
How did you meet Vito?
Well, I mean, the true story is that when I came to New York in '82 with my band from Denmark, and we were called Lion at that time, we had the chance to play a lot of the New York rock clubs, and in November we're playing together with a band called Dreamer, and here I'm sitting with my band in the dressing room, and in through the door comes this guy, long black hair, mirrored sunglasses, broken guitar case, and he just rips out his guitar and plugs into our amps, and I just sat there with my jaw down in my lap, and I went, holy cow, where did that come from? I thought we were good. And after we had played and after Vito's band had played, there were people talking in the club that singer from that band and that guitar player from that band could be good together. And then we sort of had been in the U.S. for half a year, and we had sadly to return to Denmark without any money, and I broke up the band when I came home, and I knew it was just a matter of days before I returned. And as soon as I arrived back in New York in early '83, I got the contact to Vito, and I called him, and we talked on the phone, and he came over, and in reality, we started White Lion.
One of my biggest regrets in life was in Hollywood in the '80s. Robert Sweet came to my house with Vito Bratta, and I was at band rehearsal, and I missed meeting him, and I always regret that. Now, is there any chance of doing any kind of reunion with him as far as making a guest appearance or anything on this tour?
None whatsoever. That's a decision Vito made 35 years ago. I said recently on the Eddie Trunk show, because Eddie Trunk was part of White Lion from the beginning. We kind of grew up together. So Vito, Eddie, and I are very close, sort of like a triangle. And this thing about whenever anybody brings up reunion, we already knew 25 years ago there would never be a reunion. And Vito has been a recluse. He sort of stays at home, don't talk to anybody, and makes the world maybe think that something else is going on. But I've told Vito this many times. I would be very open to anything he would need me for. But we both know, and I especially know that us getting together in the name of White Lion would not be a good White Lion.
Okay. But you still talk to him and everything.
We have conversations from time to time. Yes.
Okay. Now, when the band broke up in the, I guess, 90s, whenever it was,
91.
did you panic? It's like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? My band's broke up. You know, people aren't listening to that kind of music. Nirvana's out. Did you panic? Like, what am I going to do next?
No, I didn't panic because I was the one breaking the band up because I already had another plan. But if you really look at it, interesting enough, it's the story has never been told. It's almost like you can ask yourself, the world didn't react when Mike Tramp broke up White Lion, so I guess it was okay. Nobody fought for stopping me. Vito didn't call me the following week and says, "Are you sure about this?" Management didn't call, record company didn't call, merchandising company called. All the people that made money from us, nobody called, nobody fought for it. So when I felt that in my heart that there was just, it wasn't happening among us and so, and I was so eager to push forward and create something new. To me, it was just a matter of saying, okay, tomorrow's the final show, and the day after, I've started a new band, and already on the flight home from Boston, September 2nd, 1991, which was the final show, I already had created my next band, Freak of Nature, and that's the way I am. I hit the ground running, and I'm full of energy, and I knew what I wanted, and I think really what I wanted was to create a new band of brothers. I wanted to create some band that I was really looking forward to get into the rehearsal room with some guys that I would hang out with all night. Vito and I wrote some phenomenal songs together, and we were one with the music. We never had a single dispute about our songwriting, but that was what we were. We had no life together. We were heaven and hell. I was the outdoor man, the mountain climber, the going for every single thing, and Vito was the one sitting at home playing guitar and with the curtains down.
That's typical guitarists.
Well, there are definitely some of them, then they're also going to have to accept what comes to them,
Do you have any regrets as you look back, like I should have done this different or that different when you look back at your career?
I only have the regrets because what I know now, but I also have to tell myself that in 1987 or in 1985 or 1989, what Mike Tramp did and what Mike Tramp said was what he knew at that time. So everything for me has been, a learning experience and making each round better and better and better and fine tuning the instrument, and learning, I mean, as an example, going now with these two Mike Tramp songs of White Lion Volume 1 and Volume 2, I'm going in and singing songs that I wrote 40 years ago. And standing in my studio when I just do the vocals by myself, and I sort of just close my eyes. I don't have to think about the lyrics. The lyrics are part of me. I realize a lot of times that some of the lyrics that I sing, I'm sort of flabbergasted that I wrote them, because I don't know where that came from. And now today it all makes sense. I've actually written lyrics that are about today that would stand the test of time, and when the time finally would come for me to revisiting White Lion in an adult version, as I call it, the lyrics would not be cheesy or out of date.
So I was going to get to your White Lion 2 that's, I guess, coming out. Is it out yet?
It's coming. It is released today, the 23rd.
Okay, at the start of your tour. Now, so is that all just White Lion songs redone? Is it new material? What is it?
No, it is It is old classic White Lion songs on both albums, redone, and it all re-recorded and refurbished, as close to the original as possible. But when I recorded the first White Lion album, I was 23 years old. Now I'm 63. That's 40 years ago, and you know what? When you see a ball player gets taken off the field and put into retirement, his knees don't work anymore. He doesn't throw the ball as good anymore, etc., etc. But rock and roll has sort of been given carte blanche, that there's no expiration date. But the voice has its way of changing along the way, and so does your look, and so does your personality. So when I walk out on stage today, playing and singing the songs that I wrote 40 to 35 years ago, I'm performing them as who I am today. I want it to both sound and look like I've grown with them. Instead, I'm going up there and trying to fake my way through and going back to being 25 years old, which is impossible. I can't even stand listening to the old White Line albums of how I sounded there. So it's almost like, the old pirate is returning from his voyage around, the seven seas and the globe, and have the stories to be told. So I feel that as I'm singing the White Line songs, there are also a lot of storytelling in them. There weren't that when I recorded them the first time.
We're glad that you're still out there touring and everything. I mean, there's people like Foreigner. I guess they're doing the last tour, and there's not one original member, but you are the White Lion, so we're glad you're out there. I also want to ask you, like, how did you handle all the critics in the past when they said, "Oh, he's just a, hair metal, hair band, they're going to be gone." That you had a lot of criticism just because of the way you guys looked.
Yeah, well, I mean, a little bit more of that were written in. I mean, the same thing goes for every other band that had big hair and tight pants. I mean, it wasn't just White Lion, and I don't even recall any of those kind of reviews and stuff like that. It just seems like it was like pictures and pictures and pictures and pictures. But the thing was that when you choose to do something, you have to be prepared that you're not going to be able to make every single person happy. And even when you're successful and you go out and you're the support band for Ozzy Osbourne, I mean, there'll definitely be fans out there that came to see Ozzy, and this is what makes boys into men, and you just get along with it, and you just I mean, today you post something and somebody will say the opposite back. Oh, I like the earlier version better. What am I going to do? I do what I do.
Yeah, we're happy you're doing it. Now, what would you like people to know most about White Lion and your career and you?
Oh, my career is, I mean, White Lion has done, four albums. I have done almost 36 albums, both before and since. I think that, actually Vito once said, I thought we were just supposed to write some good songs and play them live, not being, great businessmen and fortune tellers and all those kind of stuff that we would eventually have to face with making decisions, and then also seeing the decline of the decade we were part of and all those kind of things. So, to me, the chase has always outlasted the catch. The great memories of White Lion was the band in our own car driving out to do the gigs when we were one, not when we had 4 separate dressing rooms and big buses and stuff like that. So I do think, and I've seen those who chose to comment on it, that the songs of Mike Tramp and Vito Bratta are bigger than White Lion. They're the ones that will outlive the hair. They'll outlive the image. They'll outlive the decade. They'll outlive everything. When the Children Cry is a song that is so current in 2024. I don't know how many other songs from the 80s you can say that about. Not that it's a competition, but that to me is my true acknowledgement of my art.
Well, we are so glad that you're out on tour again, got the music, the album coming out, and congratulations for keeping everything alive with the music we love. And I think that's all my questions. So here with Mike Tramp, the tour is starting today, starting here in Vegas. And catch the new album. And with Mike Tramp, he's coming to your town. Sally Steele, see you next time.
Excellent.